All right. Hey, this is Sid Owsley from the Determination Determines Destination podcast, the 3Ds to Success, where I share stories of people who use what I call the 3Ds to Success. Determination determines destination to overcome obstacles and challenges in their life. And today I have Janis Isaman. Janis is the founder of My Body Culture, which helps people feel better in their body. Like most business owners today, she sees clients online and in person, and her specialty is helping people rid themselves of pain. She's highly certified in both fitness and nutrition modalities and has been quoted as a lifestyle expert in Reader's Digest, Prevention, and Women's Health. But she's not just a textbook of knowledge with a wall full of certifications. She's a very real person who has lived through her own lifestyle and body challenges. In her one-on-one sessions, Janis therefore provides practical solutions for her clients, taking the time to get to know their lifestyle challenges and provide reasonable solutions with her lively personality and approachable manner. This is a woman you want to know. Welcome, Janis. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, trying to stay warm here.
Yep. As we talked about before we started, I'm in Canada. That is my sole mission between October and like June.
How much actual summer do y'all get there?
Not much. I mean, it really is actually chilly until June. And then, we've got July and August, and June and September are the shoulder seasons. So you really have to get outside and get everything done in July and August. Wow. The only plus side really is, I used to live in New York City where it's too hot in July and August. So here at least it's, really nice, but we really get 2 months of summer.
Okay. I think I think I'll stay south of the border most of the time.
Exactly. You know what I always say? The Canada Goose jacket brand and other outerwear comes from Canada because we know how to do that really well because that's what we do. So.
Well, Janis, tell us your story of how you use what I call the 3Ds to success. Determination determines destination, and how you use that to overcome obstacles and challenges in your life.
Well, I'm not only a bricks and mortar business owner, but I am a lone parent, and that is a subcategory of single parents where I have a child who I raise 100% on my own. I don't have financial support, and I don't have shared custody. So it came to my attention a couple of years ago through a female entrepreneur group that just 5% of single parent female-led businesses last beyond that 5-year mark. The 5-year mark for any business is that threshold watermark, but not a lot of single parent owned businesses actually make it past that. So 5% is a very small number. So at that point, I kind of really did start to look at, how come I have one of those? How come I'm not just a single parent, I'm a lone parent, and that adds even extra challenges. How come that is the case? And part of that really is that first word that you just uttered, determination. I really have found myself in a position where, I opened my business. I don't recommend this to anybody, but I opened my business when I had a 1-year-old. And I actually at that point moved back to Canada. So I changed cities, I changed jobs, I changed countries, and I was kind of still in that early motherhood transition. But what that really meant for me was that I didn't have that trampoline. I didn't have that sort of fallback plan. I didn't have an exit strategy. I didn't have an ex-coworker or former colleague to call and say, hey, could I just pick up a little side hustle contract? So I was really in. I was fully committed. And when you own a business and you open that bricks and mortar space, your finances are fully committed. And so I have really taken the approach of, I'm an entrepreneur, not a business owner. And the difference there is that entrepreneurs solve problems to stay in business. Business owners own the business, and they're just different. And so, when COVID happened, that was a moment to dig into that creativity, to dig into that resilience, to dig into that determination, because none of us were making it out of here alive if we didn't. And for me, that was a skill set, to be quite frank. I preface this whole story with my personal situation because I've had to draw on that from day one. To be super honest, it's way easier for single and lone parents to not own businesses. So all of that skill set was really how I ended up on the other side of that 5-year mark. And I've gotten to revisit those during COVID.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah. COVID will make you revisit several things in your life.
We were all revisiting all the things.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, I've had many guests call COVID the reset.
Yeah. I mean, it is. There's research out there that shows that we do most of our activities based on habit. So when we get up in the morning, most of the things we do, you rub the sleep out of your eyes, you go to the kitchen, you get your coffee, you sit and read Facebook or whatever it is that you do. You don't actually make daily decisions. You just operate through sheer force of habit. And what COVID really did for almost all of us is we ripped up that habit sheet. Which is part of why it was uncomfortable. But really, all of those things that we did that structured our life, that made us feel like, okay, I'm in control. I know what's going on. This is what my days look like. That was gone for most of us. And we had to sit and really reevaluate which habits we're keeping, which habits are even feasible, which habits are actually getting rewritten. And I think that on the other side of this, which we're far from, we're going to see that impact in businesses too, because do we need to, these are just little examples, but are we going to keep coloring our hair? Are we going to keep going to the salon and getting our nails done? Mm-hmm. Do we value massages? Some of those things that we just kind of booked and did. I mean, some people will value those more, some people will value those less, but everything's up in the air to get juggled right now.
Yeah, most definitely. You're absolutely right about that. Your business called My Body Culture.
My Body Couture.
Couture, sorry.
Yes.
And as we were just talking about COVID and the reset and how, people are reprioritizing things in your business, what have you seen from that? What have you experienced?
Well, although I'm not a traditional fitness practitioner, I do offer services that are considered by my regional health district a fitness-based service. So I'm doing yoga and doing Pilates and doing kind of that category of services to a lot of clients. So my business was actually closed for 6 months out of last year. And the fitness industry, although I'm offering one-to-one services, has been, at least in our jurisdiction, one of the industries and sectors that have actually had the longest closures. And so I do see a prioritization on health. I do see kind of more conversation about, we're at home. And for a lot of people, that means they have spent a lot more time working. There is research that shows that our average work days are actually longer, not shorter. So even though we've taken out those commutes, people are actually sitting at their desk more. I've heard, I don't have this life, but I've heard so many people say now, because we have taken out those buffers and those windows with meetings, it's just back to back to back on Zoom. Yeah. And I have heard a lot of kind of people talking about how their bodies feel and how this kind of area, this time of life has really made people feel terrible. But because in our jurisdiction, fitness services, literally I was allowed to start seeing people in person again last week. There is still reluctance to move forward with that level of investment. So the couture in my business name means custom. I work with people one-on-one. So although I am doing that by Zoom as well and digitally, that in-person bit is a little hard to gauge at the moment because I think there's just a little reluctance to actually invest in a program and really to jump in. What I actually foresee is that when it's over, there is a huge prioritization on that because we recognize if we've been given a year to try to self-direct ourselves through this, and we still haven't done it, we're going to go get help. If we've been given a year to think about it and experience guilt and shame and discomfort about it, and we haven't found kind of something that locks in as effective, we're going to go join a gym. We're going to go get a trainer. We're going to go and seek services in that. And we also are going to look at, the relative importance of where our dollars are spent. And not everybody's going to have that on the list, but a lot of people will.
That's right. Yes. They, there is a whole reset of the health paradigm and everything. And like you said, we're kind of waiting to see how all this shakes out.
Yeah, we don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, I do have a friend who used to work in Australia and then relocated back to Canada during COVID. And of course, Australia basically put the bug zapper on COVID, and they really have done an extraordinary job of removing it from the country partially because they're an island. But he reports to me that Australia is actually seeing the largest single boom in the health and fitness categories that has ever. And I believe that, because I think when you shake it all out, we have really learned right now that our health is the number one driver in life. We all know this. We've all heard this. We've all been told this. But at the end of it, this entire crisis globally that has taken out the economy and taken away as much as it has ultimately leads back to health, period. And none of us can function if we're not healthy. None of us can function when we don't feel good in our body. None of us can feel healthy and active and connect with other humans when we're in the hospital. It's just not a thing. So I believe that I'm going to see a huge prioritization and uptick in clients when this is done.
Yeah, I believe so too. Like I said, the whole paradigm of how the fitness industry is working has changed, and it's going to be a huge opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity.
Yeah,
I think that. What's that?
Sounds like you're in the right place.
I think so. And I think I really see for myself, I mean, I do a lot of deep client education, and I'm actually currently taking another certification. And I really see this as a moment. Again, we've had a certain business model in our industry. I actually haven't followed it, but I'm kind of curious how that looks on the other side, because we removed it. Gyms couldn't offer unlimited memberships where you drop in whenever you want. Under most health jurisdictions, I think maybe if you were in Florida, that's about it. I don't think anywhere else was able to continue that forward. We didn't see yoga studios that were able to just say, here's your unlimited drop in at any time membership. So I think everything's up for grabs on the other side, and the way that professionals are actually managing the business is up for grabs on the other side.
All right. So as you said, you help people to feel better in their body.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you see that you've experienced that lead people to not feel good in their body, and how is that affecting them all around, not just physically?
Yeah. So most people that come to see me have one and sometimes more of a number of really common complaints. My neck hurts. My back hurts. My shoulders hurt. I feel pain and tightness in my hips or my knees or my feet, or you name a body part, I've seen it all. And so sometimes those are really, really straightforward problems, and sometimes they're actually really, really complicated. But in essence, most of my clients have had the experience of going to at least one other practitioner, sometimes way more than that. They have gone to a chiropractor or an acupuncturist or massage therapist. And these are great disciplines. I actually cross-refer clients to most of those kinds of businesses. So it's not taking anything away from them. But what my client base typically has is an experience where they get relief for some period of time, and then they go back to their desk, or they go on vacation, or they go back to running, or what have you, some element of their life, and the problem comes back. And they often will find that they're kind of caught in this endless cycle of the only way that they can actually experience freedom from that pain in their body is with the help of a practitioner. So they don't have any capacity in their own body to actually experience a comfortable body. So I actually get people in every phase of movement and exercise. I get people that are completely sedentary. I once had a client who hadn't worked out for 43 years. And then I have had, literally on the other end of the extreme, I had one client who had won 5 Olympic gold medals. Wow. And so every range of activity is part of this spectrum. So sometimes I think that we have to be completely shut down in order to seek help from pain. But my goal is every person should feel like a 10-year-old in their body. When we're 10, we run, we move, we jump, we do activities that interest us, and we think nothing about our body. Yeah. The average 45-year-old wakes up and at least once a day is like, ooh, that's really doesn't feel good. And so we in our culture kind of chalk that up to aging, but it really isn't. It doesn't have to be that way. We do not need to spend, if we're 45, that 85. So that means we're going to take that for another 40 years. We don't need to do that. So I help people kind of walk over that bridge where whatever activity you want to do, just like when you were 10, not all people like to do all the same things, but I help people walk over that bridge where they can actually have that comfort and have that joy of movement. And for some people, that's going to be high-level competitive athletics, great. Other people have told me they want to just go for a walk or go in the garden or play with kids or grandkids. So the work that I do isn't about being fit. It's about being functional and having a sustainable body. Mm-hmm. And what that does for people, I think everybody listening can agree to this. If you're sitting at your desk and your low back hurts, that takes up a percentage of your energy, a percentage of your mind, and a percentage of your productivity. There is nobody here who can afford that if we're trying to run businesses, if we're trying to live this great life, and that we're trying to actually get to that destination. Pain shuts you down, it exhausts you, and it takes up your brain's capacity. And if you want to donate your brain to that, you can. But if you want to find a solution so that you have freedom from that, so that you can apply that willpower and those habits to something productive that brings you joy, you should call me and I can help you.
That's fantastic that you I like your solution, because a lot of times we're programmed by society to believe that, number one, we have to just take the pain.
Yeah.
And that a lot of times the solution to that is some type of prescription drug.
Yes.
And you're offering a solution that can really help people long term and actually maintain, get them healthy and maintain that health.
Correct. And I mean, I tell this to clients that in 3 hours you're going to feel better. So that's 3 sessions with me. I think I've done this for 14 years. I've had one person that did not experience that result. So I have a very high confidence that almost everybody can experience some progress in 3 sessions. Well, that's not a long time. That's not a huge investment in terms of hours of your life. And to your point, God bless America, but that's exactly what happens is we reach for medication, but it doesn't actually take away the movement pattern. It doesn't take away the whatever caused the pain in the first place. And for a lot of us, actually, there is a huge emotional component to that pain too, because our bodies are tight, they're tense, they're compressed. Prescription medication isn't going to take that away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. And mentioning the emotions behind that, I don't think we think about that a lot. How your back can be tight, or it could be anything, your hip, anything, and there's emotion behind that. And like you said, prescription drug isn't going to address that at all.
No. I think it's funny because we actually have language in the English language that actually does acknowledge it exists, but most of us don't think about it. So when we're irritated with somebody, we call them a pain in the ass. And that's exactly what ends up happening in people's bodies. So I noticed a few years into my work that there wasn't a single client, not a single one, and I actually include myself in this, absolutely, but that doesn't feel kind of that emotional tightness, compression, and pain without something in our external environment and our emotions actually holding that. So, you know, to the extent that a client wants to do that, I actually am currently, that is the certification I'm taking right now, but I have done it. I have just done it naturally all along. We have that conversation, you know, if you're, and that's something else that's come out over the years, you know, I've got people with pain in their body, but then when we start chatting, because I'm one-on-one in a space with them, well, I've heard it all. You know, I've heard I don't like my job. I've heard I don't like my business that I own and I don't know how to get out. I don't like my husband. You know, I had an affair on my husband. My husband had an affair on me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And these are extreme cases, obviously, but you know, I think we don't live in a vacuum, and we live in a home environment. We have relationships. We have primary relationships, which is with a spouse or partner. We have creative output. We have spiritual output and input, et cetera. And all of these things kind of make up a circle of our life. And if we've got these major imbalances or unprocessed events in our life, it's in our body. And again, we know this. Everything I say is stuff we know, but when you're irritated, your face does this. Well, if you don't deal with that irritation, that's how your face stays. And that's in your joints. So we've got that tightness and that compression, et cetera. So we start pulling that out, and then clients will start talking about it to the extent that they want to.
So you're part psychiatrist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge believer, truly, that the mind and the body are not two things; they're one. So often we will go to a personal trainer, and they will work on our body. We go to a therapist; they will work on their mind. But I'm kind of bridging that gap. And again, it's not replacement for therapy. It's holding space to just let somebody express that and get it out.
And, you know, as I think about it, it actually makes more sense, you know, of addressing that holistic part instead of just having somebody sit down as we always see, just sit down on the couch and, you know, the psychiatrists, they're basically just, you know, okay, yeah, oh yeah, okay, you know, are they really addressing the things that are going to help people? And you have a much more holistic approach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I think just like if somebody wants to train for a specific athletic event, I'm not their person. If they need to see a therapist, I'm also not their person. But I think quite often, you know, I remember I had a client who would come in with kind of hip pain a lot. And I noticed a theme that every time we would release that, she would start talking about childhood stuff with her mother. She didn't need therapy. She just needed to get that unprocessed stuff that she'd kind of tucked in storage out of her body, out of her cells, out of her joints. And we don't really culturally have a huge set of practitioners who are doing that and just listening to it and letting it come out. But that stuff ends up really impacting, you know, your 3Ds are determination, destination. It's really hard to have like a great positive mindset. It's really hard to have a destination when our insides are filled with stuff from the past. Like we're bringing along these suitcases of body pain and compression and tightness and tension and crap from your mom. You know, it's hard to even find space in there to get to that destination or to get to that determination because we're fighting our own mindset when we're, you know.
Yeah, that's right. You know, you mentioned something about functionality.
Yeah.
You know, you're not you're not, like you said, if you're trying to be an athlete, you're not the person to come see. But functionality is something that's so important, and I wonder if a lot of people think about that when they think about working out.
We don't. We don't. I think it's really interesting because I used to myself go to the gym a lot. So in my 20s, I was a gym bunny. I could be found there an hour or two a day. And in your 20s, you don't think anything about functionality any more than you think about hangovers when you go and drink. It just functions and it just works. I think where a lot of us really get that first ping of information does tend to be in our mid-30s. And, you know, I don't have an age cutoff or an age bracket of clients that I work with, but it is on the more rare end that somebody under 35 comes to me. Because I think that stuff kind of starts to pop up in our early 30s, and we think the same. We're like, oh, I should wake up in the morning and my back pain should be gone, because it was when you're 25. But what we start to realize is that it doesn't, and that functionality is something that I also call sustainability. But I also think it's like the craziest thing ever that our culture says that as soon as we hit a certain age, I mean, whatever cutoff, 30, 35, 40, somewhere in there, we start hearing narratives that, well, that's just part of aging. So, you know, I mentioned that already, but the average lifespan is 85. So we're telling people that they are going to be non-functional for 40 years.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Crazy. And that functionality really does, you know, I always talk about how all of us, 100% of us, nobody wants to listen to health and fitness expert talk. No one does. Yeah. And the reason we don't is because we all know there isn't a person listening to this who lacks clarity about whether a potato chip or a carrot is healthier. There isn't a person listening to this. If you have access to the internet, you know that you should exercise.
That's right.
You've been told. We all know this. So I have looked at that, like, where is the failure to actually do it? So people don't enjoy it. People feel uncomfortable in those environments, but also people feel uncomfortable in their bodies. I've had that where I try to work out and, you know, my joints will hurt. Well, I'm not going to keep doing that. It's not sustainable. So we're not given another path or another set of options. Our options that we're given are hit the gym, lift the weights, do the cardio, and maybe take a yoga class. That isn't actually dealing with underlying sustainability or functionality issues. So then we just go back to our desk and we're like, okay, forget it. Catch you in 43 years.
Yeah.
But I think that we also, what I also don't hear in that messaging is we can't actually run amazing businesses. We can't have amazing mindsets if that base of the pyramid isn't taken care of. Right. So the messaging from me anyways, and I'm, you know, fighting the big fitness tide, but it's not about being fit. It's not about lifting more weights. It's literally, like you said, it's function. Because there are some people that go to the gym and love it. But for the folks who aren't, which is like 85 to 90% of us, we don't need that. What we need is a functional body so that we can get on with the things that we do love.
Yeah, that's right. That's the whole point of, you know, whether it is going to yoga, to the gym, whatever. That's what people really want. You know,
it is. Yeah.
You know, we can talk about the, you know, the bicep flexing or whatever, you know, but you just want to be able to function well in life, no matter what age you are.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I think that we really just need to reiterate that is the base of the pyramid. And, you know, I have a son and I always tell him there are things in life I can't do for you. I can't eat for you. I can't pee for you, but I also can't actually exercise for you. And I think actually we can outsource a lot of other things. We can outsource our accounting, we can outsource our cleaning, we can outsource our business planning, we can outsource our business strategies. We can outsource, I could make a list of 47 things in my business that I could outsource, but I actually can't outsource responsibility for my body. That's right. It's literally impossible unless I go on life support, which no one actually wants to do. No. And so I think that a lot of us are getting that kind of classic traditional fitness messaging, but it really isn't about fitness messaging. It's about this sits underneath everything else, because everything else can be outsourced. We can get support for everything else. We can actually ignore a lot of other things, but this one, we're not going anywhere on those 3Ds unless it's actually handled, and it's handled by us. And that doesn't mean that we need to be doing bicep curls, but we need to actually eat well and move our bodies and make sure that we don't have pain and discomfort every day, so that we're not sitting at our desk burning energy on that.
That's right. That's right. That's what's the most important thing, to be able to do normal everyday tasks without pain, without suffering.
Yeah.
If you have to squat down and pick up something off the ground, it shouldn't take you, I shouldn't be able to time you with a stopwatch, a long time,
No, exactly. But that said, I totally agree. But if you are there, there's pathways out, because I do get those clients in. Absolutely, I do. I get clients that it's, I don't actually do it as a test, but there is actually a test. If you're on the floor, how many times do you need to touch down a body part or a limb to get to vertical? So if I was to come to standing right now, do I need to put my hand down, my elbow down, my other hand down, my elbow down, my knee down, etc.? And there's actually a correlative link between how many times you need to touch down and your predicted longevity. So I once had a client who knew this, because it circulated around the media, and she was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to die tomorrow because I need to touch down like 53 times." And I mean, we moved her well past that, but just, even if that's where you are, just like with every other business problem or life problem, we just own that and we move forward. We don't need to stay stuck there and be like, "Oh no, I'm not in shape and I need to touch down 53 times and death is near and that's it." It doesn't matter how old you are. There are ways to get that comfort back and get some of that mobility back and that function back.
That's awesome. That is a such an important solution that you're offering people to be able to improve their lives, especially during this time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And a lot of us are actually really suffering. I mean, I noticed in myself, and I mean, I don't need to reiterate what my values are, what I think is important. Mm-hmm. I've been shocked during a couple periods of this particular special moment of time that we're living in, just with losing those day-to-day activities. So every time my business closes, I work exclusively from home, and I struggle a lot more with my own movement, body weight, really feeling really great in my body, because it's those simple things that you don't even think about. I'll be at my office and just pop out to the bank. I'll be at my office and just run over to the post office. I actually do walk to and from my office. And then all of a sudden I have to actually go look for those steps. It's like minus 9,000 in Canada right now. And so just, I have found it really challenging to actually be in a situation where those day-to-day things that I think nothing of are actually removed, and I have to really specifically go look for that exercise. And sometimes I'm like, forget it. So I mean, it's very relatable to me, the struggles that people have in terms of finding that motivation, finding options, finding how we can settle into that, because we're not. So I have a whole new appreciation for some of the challenges my customers have, because I live this every day right along with them.
All right, and that's nothing like having that experience to relate to your customers.
It's true.
Yeah. So Janice, we're about to wrap up, and I just want you to tell everybody how they can get in contact with you so that they can get functional and stay functional in their life.
My business name is My Body Couture, and that's 3 words. First word is my, M-Y. Second word is body, B-O-D-Y. Third word is couture, C-O-U-T-U-R-E. So I'm available at the .com. That's kind of your portal to everywhere else I am. But if you want to skip that, you can head straight to my 2 most active platforms, which are Facebook and Instagram, and I'm at /My Body Couture on both of those channels.
All right. Thank you very much, Janice. It was great having you. Great discussion. Very important discussion.
Thank you for having me.
All right. This is Sid Owsley from the Determination Determines Destination podcast, where we share stories of people who use what I call the 3 Ds to success. Determination determines destination to overcome obstacles and challenges in their life. Thank you and have a great day. I'm out.